Buongiorno people, welcome back. I remember like yesterday when Nintendo announced the end of the Wii U, a console with an innovative idea, but with being poorly received by the public. Several people who I know personally thought the console was an accessory for the Wii, and the poor marketing led the console to its oblivion. Not only that, but in 2013, Sony announced the PlayStation 4, which also dominated the market for the entire generation, with a strong lineup and a powerful marketing machine, and an Xbox that nuked itself, giving no possibility for the competitors to rise. The Nintendo Wii U struggled to rise, even with a good lineup of titles. At the end of 2015, there were several rumors about a new console with the codename NX, a new more powerful console with an Nvidia chip on board, albeit just a rumors. The rumors ended in 2016 with an official announcement of the Nintendo Switch. Nintendo's new console had inherited a bad reputation since the Wii U was a failure, and therefore Nintendo had to convince a larger community about their new system. After its trailer, the public finally understood that the Nintendo Switch was an hybrid console, allowing the player to play both at home and outside, an evolution of the Wii U concept. The tablet is now the console and not just a controller. The Switch carried on the legacy of not just the Nintendo Wii U, but also the Nintendo DS and 3DS. The reason was simple: the Nintendo Switch is an hybrid console, so the meaning behind its development was to unify the entire player base with one device to cut the cost of the game development. The console was released with an already dated mobile processor, the Nvidia Tegra X1, a custom version of the SoC for the Nintendo Switch. The CPU was already older. It was released in 2015 by Nvidia. The 2-year-older mobile CPU for a console was laughable for the skeptic of the console. The PS4 and the Xbox One were far more powerful than the Switch. But we are talking about an hybrid console and not the typical home console. The console is sold with a docking station so it can be used as a home console, a charger to recharge the console itself, and the Joy-Cons. Honestly, I think the Joy-Con are a promising idea because of the functionality of these two controllers are an evolution of the Wii U controller concept. Because with one console, two people can play together, showing how Nintendo see the console as a system for everyone. Now, talking about the console itself, the Nintendo Switch is 6.2 inches, and in 2017 the display was the equivalent of a small tablet. It made me laugh knowing that the iPhone 16 Pro Max has at least a 7-inch display. Sorry, going back to the Nintendo Switch, the two Joy-Cons connected to the main body looked like a PlayStation Vita to me. The hardware was a 32GB eMMC and 4GB of RAM, like a high-end phone of that time. For me, it's crazy to think how Nintendo gave us an amazing games with this mediocre hardware. The Nintendo Switch has received some variants: the Nintendo Switch Lite, which is a version with attached Joy-Cons and a smaller screen, 5.5 inches, the cheapest version, and the OLED version, which is an upgrade in terms of internal construction and displayed with OLED technology, is 7 inches screen with a better build and a better cooling system, and with double internal memory going from 32GB to 64GB of SSD. The hardware is not the main battleground for Nintendo, because Nintendo has chosen to not compete with Microsoft and Sony in the powerful hardware and photorealism realm, and the company made this decision for several reasons. First, to develop video games for less powerful hardware it's less expensive, so Nintendo doesn't have to invest a lot of money in hyper-realistic titles, which are very expensive not only to create but to earn enough to make a return on their investment. Second, the hardware has pushed Nintendo to create games with an overall gaming experience as the most important thing, and afterward decide on engaging gameplay, and then building a game around them. To give you an example, Nintendo Labo, a game where the entire console is used as a control, shows the Nintendo difference, and there are other games that use Nintendo Switch hardware in a different ways. One to Switch, ARMS, Ring Fit Adventure, Fit Boxing, and other games like the Mario Party series and other third-party games. I think one of the most important things for a console is the operating system. It's not complex like a PC, because at the end of the day the console is a plug-and-play system. But in this case the Nintendo Switch operating system is a huge disappointment, and the main reason is that Nintendo didn't create any themes for the console. For example, on the Nintendo 3DS you could personalize your home screen, and this is the main disappointment. Other than that, the console has received several updates, one of the most important being the Nintendo Switch Online. It's an online service like PlayStation Network, which allows you to play with people around the world, and to use it you need to connect your Nintendo account to synchronize your data, like other platforms. The operating system is basic, and it's just good to start and play games. If you look at the hardware and the operating system, the Nintendo Switch is not that special, but the video games are the main reason why a player buys a console, and in this Nintendo has succeeded, where PlayStation and Xbox have failed. The first game that comes to my mind is Zelda Breath of the Wild, one of the most important games of the decade. And this game is a miracle because it is run on a weak hardware like Nintendo Switch, with advanced physics, a wonderful open world, and a sandbox experience, and the idea of switching from portable to TV mode 7 years ago was absolute banger, something that have changed the way we live the gaming today. The philosophy behind Nintendo and their games have brought the console to sell 146 million units around the globe, because with the Switch Nintendo started to plan the release of their games. Not only did Nintendo develop its own games with their teams and third-party developers, but they kept the games for a long time before release, to polish them and publish them later on. In my opinion, this is one of the key factors that helped the Nintendo Switch become the most sold console of the decade. Talking about games, on the Switch we have witnessed the resurrection of several series like Xenoblade and Metroid, with new chapters and remasters, because Nintendo always adds something to their games each time the company republished them. With Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and 3 restarted the interest towards the series with the remake of the first chapter and the X announced in late 2024. Aside from the revival of Metroid starting with the remake Samus Returns, with a new classic Metroidvania, Metroid Red, and later with the remake of Metroid Prime, a first-person shooter without changing the soul of the franchise. With the Switch, Nintendo released several Mario games. Mario Odyssey, one of the best 3D platforms around, I think. And with Nintendo Switch 2, Nintendo will show the next 2D Mario, and after 8 years, it's time to publish a new one. Mario Wonder, which is crazy and full of creativity, and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which was published on the Nintendo Wii U. And with the reveal of the new console, Nintendo has shown the latest chapter of the series. The Switch is good even for playing indie games and JRPGs, but I think games like Hollow Knight and Blasphemous have brought the genre of the Metroidvania back to life. Other than that, there are several JRPGs which have benefited from the hybrid nature of the console, like Animal Crossing New Horizon. It's important to remember this game was released during the pandemic, so this helped a lot of people around the world, and because of their philosophy of making their games accessible to everyone. This also helped the spread of Nintendo's brands throughout the casual audience, which can approach different games based on their preference. Not only that, but Nintendo is the only software house who has developed party games, like the Mario Party series or Mario Kart, which can be played with friends via local multiplayer. The future for the console market is uncertain for several reasons. Xbox has lost the race with PlayStation, but the console market is losing market share against the mobile and PC markets, with Xbox becoming the third-party publisher and PlayStation in deep crisis after the poor management of Jim Ryan and Herman Hulst, which have made the PlayStation 5 the worst PlayStation console based on player perception. Now, after the reveal of the Nintendo Switch 2, Nintendo has a big advantage compared to Sony, and the main reason is that Nintendo's titles are very strong, and with the Nintendo Switch, more players have played more Nintendo games. In a certain way, I think the future for Nintendo is brighter than PlayStation right now. The brands are strong, and their vision is paying off for the company. Other than that, Xbox will publish their games on the new Switch with the support of the entire panorama of Japanese developers. The only thing that worries me is Nintendo's management, because the company is sometimes out of touch with their player base. Like Nintendo Music, why publish a new app on Android and iOS with all the music service out there? Seems strange to me. I want the company to be more tolerant and transparent with its fans. For example, not recognizing the Joy-Con drift was a poor PR choice. Thank you if you have watched the video until the end. Remember to subscribe and leave a like. Hasta la pasta, see you in the next one.